Alright, inspection of locomotive brake and signal equipment. Instruction pamphlet number 5048, September 1944. Copyright 1944, New York Air Brake Company. 420 Lexington Avenue, New York, New York. Alright, air compressor test, steam driven, the motor driven, the main reservoir, leakage, breakage, pipe leakage, brake rigging, brake cylinder, leakage, piston, travel feed valve, reducing valve test, governor test, automatic brake valve test, independent brake valve test, distributing valve test, single equipment test, brake pipe vent test, number 5E equipment test, number 5ET equipment test, general instructions. Inspection. Inspection of locomotive brakes and signal equipment. Air brake and signal equipment should be given for the operative condition before the locomotive leave the road roundhouse and take its train out of the road in order that it may be known to be such condition that the brake and signal equipment should be inspected after each trip of the locomotive of the day works. All defects found reported with the proper authority. On the following pages are given with the checking operation with the air compressor, governor, with the brake valve, with the distributing valve, vent valve, single equipment, leakage limits of the main reservoir, brake pipe, and brake cylinders are also covered as well if the inspection, brake rigging, and piston travel. In order for the air brake to maintain a high state of efficiency, is absolutely essential that the test may be to be frequent and regular interval to determine the operative condition of various devices, which is composed furthermore of the defective operation of the parts remedied without delay. Before testing, separate devices will require cleaning in certain prescribed periods with the stenciled date should be examined in each case in order to ascertain if the device has been cleaned when within the prescribed period. The test herein suggested should be not confused with the test codes used in condition with the stand of the test racks on which individual devices may be accurately thoroughly tested. Steam-driven air compressor test. Before starting with the compressor, see that the steam cylinder drain cocks are open. Start with the compressor and run it slowly for about 30 pounds. Main reservoir pressure. Examine then close the drain cocks. Increase the speed, noting that the reservoir pressure increases at the normal rate and the strokes of the uniform. There's no pounding. There's no leakage over the pipe piston rod packing, but both the steam and the air ends of the compressor are free of leakage. It should also be known that the air strainer is in good condition. Lubricating device are in good working order. The compressor should be tested for the capacity as often as conditions may require, but not less frequently, once every 3 months. When the throttle valve is incorporated with the compressor pipe, the following additional test should be made with the main reservoir drain cock shut, main reservoir pressure atmospheric, and the steam valve shut. Open the steam valve wide. Observe the compressor does not race the pound. Note the throttle valve change over the point of the main reservoir gauge. This should occur between 25 and 40 pounds, indicated speeding up of the compressor. Motor-driven air compressor test. The compressor should be tested for the capacity as often as necessary. It may require, but not less than frequently than once every 3 months. The minimum capacity for the air remaining compressor permitted in service should be approximately 80% of the capacity for the compressor when new. Main reservoir leakage. Leakage for the main reservoir related piping should not exceed an average of 3 pounds per minute in the test of 3 minutes duration made after pressure has been reduced to 40% below maximum pressure. Brake pipe leakage. Test for the brake pipe leakage. Make it a 10 pound for the reduction from 70-pound brake pipe pressure. Play for the brake valve handle in the lap position. Note the fall in the brake pipe pressure indicated by the brake with the brake pipe air gauge. Note the equalizing reservoir gauge. This leakage should not exceed 5 pounds per minute. Brake rigging. Brake rigging should be maintained in a safe, suitable condition for service lever rods. Brake beam hangers, pins should be able to ample strength, not fouled in any way that it might affect the proper operation of the brake. All pins should be properly secured with the end plate for the cotter, split keys, and nuts. Brake shoes should be properly applied and kept approximately in line with the tread of the wheel. Brake cylinder leakage with a full surface application for the maximum brake pipe pressure without the cutout cock in the supply pipe with the distributing valve closed with the brakes on the locomotive. Tender should remain applied not less than 5 minutes. Another method of testing brake cylinder leakage is applying the brakes and close with the supply pipe with the cutout cock. Observe the reduction cylinder pressure in the register of the brake cylinder gauge. If the leakage is indicated, it may determine when the brake cylinders are faulty, proceeding as follows. Close the cutout cock in line with the tender brake cylinder with no leakage with indicated with the tender brake cylinder hose connection is fault. Leakage continue with the cutout cock with the line truck brake cylinder eliminates with the leakage with the indicated with either the truck brake cylinder over the hose with the connection at fault. The condition of the trial brake cylinder and the hose connection may be determined in the same manner. If the leakage continues after foregoing test, the dry brake cylinders are responsible. Piston travel. Steam locomotives. Minimum piston travel, which would maintain closely practical, but should be sufficient, provided with the proper brake shoe clearance when the brakes are released. The maximum piston travel might not exceed the driving wheels of 4 to 6, engine truck brakes 6 to 8, and tender brakes 7 to 9. Locomotives other than steam minimum brake cylinder piston travel should be sufficient to provide brake shoe clearance where the brakes are released. The piston maximum piston travel of the locomotive standing shall not exceed 6 inches of the brake driving the wheel of the drone box and provide with the shoes and wedges. When the shoes and wedges are not provided, the maximum piston travel may be 7 inches. On swivel trucks, where the brakes are on one or more of the trucks are operated with the same cylinder, the maximum piston travel does not exceed 7 inches. Wherever the cylinder operates the brakes on one truck only, the maximum piston travel may be reducing to 8 inches. Alright, feed valve reducing valve test. Recommend with the during inspection of the brake equipment irregularity, feed valve with the reducing operation, observe the feed with the reducing valve removed from the locomotive, test and stand the feed valve test rack, which is described and illustrated in illustration leaflet number 2388 for B, C, J, and M-type valves, instruction pamphlet number 30 for F-type valves. Feed valves reducing valves shall be cleaned at least once every 6 months. Steam compressor governor test. Unless standard excess pressure for the road is different with the automatic brake valve handle with the running position, the main reservoir pressure should not be less than 20 pounds more than the brake pipe pressure. When automatic brake valve handle is in lap position, main reserve pressure should be increased with adjustment with a high pressure governor. With the automatic brake valve handle in lap position, low pressure governor is cut out so that the variation standard over the road with the handle over the position will be cut with a high pressure governor top. The adjustment should be corrected by removing the check nut with the turning of the regulating nut into the grease of the pressure. If the main reservoir pressure is more than less than the standard of the road, with the automatic brake valve handle with the running position indicated with the regulating speed of the excessive low pressure governor top out adjustment. Adjustment should be made with the corrected same air with a high pressure top. This SF governor is important for the brake pipe pressure be correct with the pressure additional to this pressure spring pressure operated with excessive pressure over the governor head. Our electrical compressor governor test. Even with the connection with an automatic air brake system and the governor shall be adjusted so that the compressor will start with the main reservoir pressure is not less than 15 pounds above the maximum pressure fixed with the rulers of carrier. It will not stop with the compressor until the reservoir pressure has increased not less than 10 pounds. Governor shall operate within 5 pounds above the low of the pressure fixed. Governors failed to operate properly should be removed and checked and adjusted on individual test racks. Automatic brake valve test. Handle of the automatic brake valve should operate easily if it doesn't, and probably due to dry rotary valve. The dry rotary valve key gasket indicated with the brake valve should be removed with the proper cleaning and lubrication. If the handle becomes dry, it will cover the handle to move without not over the notches, considerable resistance, and a few drops of oil will remove with the difficulty, permit the handle to move with the proper freedom. Time recorded for the valve with the discharge equalizing reservoir pressure should be carefully noted to determine the place of the brake valve handle within the service position. Time reduced for the equalizing reservoir pressure tube down 20 pounds down and the nominal as follows. From 70 pounds of pressure, 10 seconds, 80 pounds of second pressure, 9 seconds, 90 pounds of pressure, 8 seconds, 110 pounds of pressure, 6 seconds. Rotary valve leakage sufficient amount of the necessary to prepare as usual with the leakage test is desired, however the place brake valve handle in service position, and make 20-pound reduction. Return to the handle with the lap position. Note whether the brake pipe pressure increase for the rotary valve with the brake valve gasket leak. To ensure the brake valve is functioning properly, each of the positions is inspected as valve with the release position. Position of the warning port should blow with the brake pipe angle cock is open. There should be heavy, continuous blow from the hose. Main reservoir pressure should fall at a rapid rate. Running position. It should be noted that the pressure regulators, governor, and feed valve maintain the main reservoir brake pipe pressure required within the service while the locomotive is assigned. The H6K14 brake valve's holding position should be noted with the brake cylinder gauge that the brakes do not release the cylinder pressure increase with the following application. The H6K14 brake valves. If the handle release position holding there is a constant leak with the brake pipe service exhaust, and it indicates the equalizing discharge valve with a defect or it's off seat, which such a leak caused by dirt on the seat making heavy surface application of the release will cause the equalizing piston to rise. Escape the air will usually dislodge foreign matter of the permit the valve to seat properly. The L8PA brake valve first service position. It should be noted that the first service position cut out with the cock handle is marked in the end, or the equalizing reservoir should be dropped to 5 to 6 pounds up at the regular service rate with a total reduction 20 from 70 pounds. Should be equalizing reservoir pressure approximately 2 minutes. Bearing with the test for the angle cock slightly, no more. Note that the brake pipe pressure does not drop faster than the equalizing reservoir pressure. Played with the first service of the cutout cock and the handle marked out. The automatic brake valve handle in first service position. No reduction should be obtained with the equalizing reservoir pressure. Surface position should be known over the equalizing piston with the promptly after the movement of the brake valve handle. Surface position seized properly with the upon the return of the lap position. Also, there is no leak of the brake pipe exhaust port over the equalizing discharge valve seats. Emergency piston. It should be known that the reduction brake pipe pressure for the emergency rate with emergency action is secured. Double heading cutout cock closed with the move of the automatic brake valve handle into emergency position. Observe the emergency relay valve where used to open with the drop of the leak brake pipe pressure and emergency. Raise the usual increase of the brake cylinder pressure over the obtained surface the application of the tank with the safety valve of the distributing valve is blown. Brake valves failing to meet requirements of preceding test remove the from Investigation Standards AAR Test Rack Instruction Pamphlet number 5039-20, Supplement number 1, cover the testing brake valves for the number 4B Test Rack. Alright, independent brake valve test. You should be know that the brakes can be applied with release at the usual rate, but the independent relief may be after automatic application that the reducing valve control for the cylinder pressure of the desired amount, no leakage exists. If the handle works hard with the key cover with the drive rotary valve key gasket. If the return spring does not return with the handle with the release for the return onto running from quick to slow application position, the valve will have to be removed and examined for cause. The leak rotary independent valve will cover the brake cylinder pressure with the concrete determine the independent application limit with the adjustment, reducing valve. Brake valves failed to meet the requirements above the test should be removed with an investigation standard of the AR Test Rack Inspection Pamphlet number 5039-20, Supplement number 1, cover the test brake valves and number 4B Test Rack. Note the number 8 type brake valve, refer to page 16, test control emergency nullifying feature. Distributing valve with a 110-pound brake pipe is not easily determined at the point of the leakage occurring is that when 70-pound brake pipe pressure with a 110-pound pressure safety valve is set, figures below the equalizing point of the pressure application chamber. Therefore, the testing distributing valve is better than to use 70 pounds brake pipe pressure. Distributing valve should be removed with the locomotive clean and tested the AR standard test rack at least every 6 months. The number 8A distributing valve. With the test distributing valve with excessive friction moving parts after the system fully charged to make the 6-pound brake pipe production. If the brakes fail to apply with the cause probably leak of the application portion friction equalizing portion, or leakage by equalizing piston packing ring, proper operation reduction chamber, cut-off valve of the brakes failed to apply with a 6-pound reduction. Distributing valve shall be removed with the regular test on the 4D test rack as covered in instruction pamphlet number 5039-20, Supplement 2. If the brakes do apply, increase the reduction 10 pounds. Note that no leak of the application cylinder of the chamber by observing the brake cylinder gauge should be shown not less than the pressure. Cylinder pressure should be approximately 18 pounds. The cylinder pressure increase that it must be likely caused by a reduction in brake pipe pressure due to the brake pipe leakage. The leak past the automatic rotary valve, the independent rotary valve, the equalizing slide valve, the graduating valve, the distributing valve may also cover the cylinder pressure increase after the partial automatic service application. Blow at the brake cylinder exhaust with the release position indicates the application of valve leak. Blow at the air brake cylinder exhaust application position indicates the exhaust valve leak. Blow at the brake cylinder exhaust both the application and release position indicate application of valve leak. Leak application valve may or may not use the intermittent blow to determine the source of the leakage within 70-pound pressure. Proceed as follows. After the brake application is made, the 10 pounds reduction observed with what is figured for the brake cylinder pressure rises and increases to 50 pounds. Remains constant, indicated the brake pipe leakage, which always exists in a greater or lesser degree, but therefore eventually produces equalization or leak of the brake cylinder leak from pressure chamber into the application chamber, usually past the equalizing slide valve. Determine the increase of the brake cylinder pressure through the leakage equalizing slide valve with the control of the emergency valve slide valve with the release within the brake. Note that the blow of the direct exhaust automatic brake valve when it handles both of the brake valves in running at position. In running position, blow will indicate an equalizing slide valve, control the emergency valve leakage, graduating valve leak, sufficient to cause increase in the application chamber pressure for the partial surface of the application cover the equalizing slide valve piston to move of the release position, moving not least relief of the locomotive brakes and left of the engine. Second, on the double header of the automatic brake valve cut out with a brass plug has been removed from the side of the automatic brake valve to provide the release of the locomotive. Presuming the brake valve is in the lap, the distributing valve, the equalizing piston with the real release position. When the brake applied, leakage will increase the brake cylinder pressure adjustment with the safety valve, presuming the adjusted valve value higher than the equalization indicate leaking amount of the brake valve rotary. Independent brake applied with leakage will increase the brake cylinder pressure adjustment. Safety valve will indicate the defect with the reducing valve of the brake cylinder pressure. Increase the adjustment of the reducing valve and the leaky independent brake valve rotary indicated. If the brake cylinder pressure will not reduce and graduation properly, it may be leaked by passed by the bypass. Check 47, the distributing valve between the brake cylinder and application pipe pressure. Determine the bypass check valve at its fault with the plate for the dead engine cap on the dead engine position, which cover the connection between the brake cylinder and passage application pipe. No difficulty graduating with the brake cylinder pressure will indicate the trouble of the leaky check valve of the brake release. The automatic application automatic brake valve handle is in the release position and was caused by the leak from a distributing valve application pipe of the brake release after the independent application is caused by the leakage distributing application pipe. If the brake release of the automatic brake application may cause the leak with the distributing valve of the body gasket and piston seal. If the brake release after the independent application, it may be caused by a leak past the distributing valve body gasket, reducing cutoff slide valve safety valve. The cutoff valve of the 96 of the forward of the protection against the loss for locomotive brake in the event of the application pipe breaking should the test possible leak with the speed testing. Saying 15 pounds of brake cylinder pressure means if the automatic brake valve is then closed with the double heading cog will place the both of the brake and valve handles in the right position. Leakage of the brake cylinder pressure indicate the leakage past cutoff valve of the controlled emergency valve shall be cut in when used and checked. An automatic emergency brake cylinder should be charged from 0 to 50 pounds in automatic 36 seconds. The controlled emergency nullifying feature of the independent brake valve should be tested, making an emergency brake application with the controlled emergency feature cut in while wait until about 10 pounds of brake pressure is developed. The move of the independent brake valve handle, the quick application position, brake cylinder pressure should be immediately increased with the brake pressure of fast emergency rate. Where broken equalizing piston graduating spring indicate with the equalizing piston slide valve going to the emergency position when making partial serve of the application. Determine adjustment of safety valve plate for the automatic brake valve handle in the emergency position. Note with the brake cylinder gauge of the pressure, which have the safety valve open, should be between 65 to 70 pounds with the brake remote. Return the automatic brake valve lap position over the closing pressure. Safety valve should be within 3 pounds of the opening pressure. Safety valve should be adjusted to 68 pounds. Test must be made no more than 70 pounds of brake pipe pressure with the controlled emergency feature cut out. The number 6 and number 14 type distributing valves. To distribute the valve with the except for the friction move part of the system fully charged with the make 10 pound serve of the brake pipe prediction over the application some of the connections and the safety valve not leaking by observing the brake cylinder gauge should be indicated with no loss of the pressure relief of the brake after fully released by 6 pounds serve of the reduction. Note if the brake applied properly. If they fail to apply, it's caused by undue friction application piston supply valve or the equalizing slide valve in the piston or leakage to equalizing piston packing ring. It breaks failed to apply on 6 pound reduction, distributing valve shall be removed for a regular test of the 6 ET test racks. Its brakes apply properly make further reduction to total of 10 pounds. Note that the cylinder pressure gradually increase with the beyond. There should be 10 pound reduction, which is 25 pound cylinder pressure increase with the most likely because of the reduction in brake pipe pressure due to brake pipe leakage. The leak test automatic rotary valve with independent rotary valve equalizing slide valve, graduating valve, distributing valve may also cover the cylinder pressure increase with the after the partial automatic service application below the brake cylinder exhaust with the release position only to indicate the application valve leakage. Below the brake cylinder exhaust with the application position only indicates the exhaust valve leakage. Below the brake cylinder exhaust both of the application release position indicates application valve leakage. Leaky application valve may or may not cause intermittent blow. To determine the source of the leaks within 70 pounds pressure proceed as follows. After the brake application is made with a 10 pounds reduction, observe the what figure of the brake cylinder pressure rises. If the increase of 50 pounds remaining constant, it indicates the brake pipe leakage will always exist to a greater or lesser degree, therefore will eventually produce equalization or leak of the pressure chamber into the application chamber, usually equalizing slide valve. To determine the increase of the brake cylinder pressure due to the leakage equalizing slide valve, release the brake. Note that they're below the directed exhaust of automatic brake valve handles both of the brake valves in running position. Below indicating equalizing slide valve leakage, graduating valve leaking sufficient to cause increase the application chamber pressure for the partial service application, causing equalizing slide valve piston to move to the release position. It will not release the locomotive brakes until the engine is in second double header with the automatic brake valve cut out when the brass plug has been removed from the side of the automatic brake valve held to provide the release of the locomotive brakes. When brake valve is in the lap, and the distributing valve equalizing in the release position. When the brake applied with the leakage will increase the brake cylinder pressure with adjustment with the safety valve presuming the adjusted for the valve value higher than the equalization indicated leaking automatic brake valve rotary brake cylinder pressure increase with the adjustment of the independent reducing valve stop with leaky independent brake valve rotary is indicated. If the brake releases automatic application with the automatic brake valve handle is placed in the release or holding position but it remains applied after the independent application caused by from the leak of the distributing valve release pipe between Automatic independent brake valve. The brake release for the independent application, but it remains applied with the automatic application is caused by the leaking in the distributing valve. Releases between the distributing valve and the independent brake valve. The holding feature of the automatic brake valve has eliminated with the relief the holding position, same as in the running position. If the brakes released after the automatic brake independent application may be caused by the leak of the application cylinder pipe of the application cylinder cap of the gasket, safety valve, broken application piston, graduating spring will usually indicate with the cessation, quick exhaust for the brake cylinder exhaust, for the cold weather, the distributing valve show with the drain with the mean with the drain plug. In an emergency slide valve quick action cap that leaks, it can be detected with the constant blow of the brake cylinder exhaust while the brakes are released, but with the distributing leak of the emergency slide valve from 1 through with the application slide valve closed cutout cock of the supply pipe of the distributing valve. If the leak gradually covers the application valve leak, it continues the emergency slide valve leak. The tube less leaky. To test the leaky check valve with the emergency cap must continue to strip the application, reduce the brake pipe pressure for the 20 pounds below for the point of the equalization. Then go over the double heading cog with the observer the brake pipe pressure gauge. Add the increase of the pressure, increase with the perceptible for the check valve if it is tight. Warm broken graduating spring with indicator equalizing piston slide valve going into the emergency position, making the partial strip of the application quick ride with brake cylinder pressure to about 65 pounds. Determine adjustment of safety valve plate for the automatic brake valve handle in emergency position. Note that the brake cylinder gauge of the pressure at which the safety valve opens should be between 65 and 70 pounds. Return automatic brake valve to the lap position. Note that the closing pressure safety valve, which should be within 3 pounds of the opening pressure safety valve, should be adjusted. For 68 pounds, distributing valve should be removed with the locomotive cleaned and tested on 4D and 6ET test racks at least every 6 months. Alright, signal equipment. Inspector dummy coupling testing gauge should be connected in single hose, reducing air pressure stand with the necessary for the signal whistle. Will respond promptly with the reduction made with the single pipe with the irregularity. Note with the single valve that should be removed within accordance with the instruction covered in instruction leaflet number 2377 for old style signal. Instruction leaflet number 2377-1 for type C signal valve. If the whistle blow with the tight signal pipe with the independent application, the brakes are made with the dirt on single pipe check valve because of the leak condition of the valve, reduce the valve allow the signal pipe pressure to increase to 45 pounds. A leak in the signal pipe pressure should be made with the inspector dummy coupling automatic fluctuation reducing valve noted. The fluctuation should not exceed 2 pounds. Close the supply cutout cock with a gauge for the inspector dummy coupling. May also be checked with the amount of the single pipe of the leakage should not exceed 2 pounds per minute. If the single equipment does not have the supply cutout cock reducing valve plate for the independent brake valve slow application position with the plate for the automatic brake valve handle in the emergency position until the brake cylinder pressure equalizes, after which return both brake valve handles in lap position. Single whistle must be not blown within a minute to so that it indicates signal pipe leakage. Brake pipe vent valve test. Inspection of the brake valve vent valve should indicate 30 pounds surface production. Automatic brake valve will observe the vent valve exhaust air but the bolt does not assume emergency, which would indicate with the gauge a quick drop of the brake pipe pressure. After the overproduction plate with the automatic brake valve handle in the emergency position, observe the vent valve opens, which will indicate with a strong flow of the air with the vent valve exhaust. If the vent valve does not open, see that they are not plugged or closed. Should the vent valve produce with the emergency drum with the surface production, should it fail with the open with the brake pipe produce the emergency rate with the vent valve, should remove and test in accordance with the test code covered in instruction leaflet number 2386. Alright, the number 5 ET brake, equipment. The H5 automatic brake valve. The brake valve of the pipe is different from the H6. Some variation method of the test will be necessary, so for the easy method of the handling concern, the same method is applied in case of the H6. Leak brake pipe exhaust treated with the same method as those in the H6 brake valve. The time required to deduce the equalizing reservoir pressure 20 pounds is the same. Leaky rotor valve with the body gasket test the first plate for the handling surface position until all the brake pipe equalizing reservoir pressure is reduced to 0, then closing the double heading cock, placing the handle on the lap position. This leave the rotary valve with the main pressure on the top. If the leak for the body gasket, the pressure gradually increase with the short length of the brake pipe, the equalizing reservoir will be indicated on the black hand of the duplex gauge. The SF independent brake valve test. The handle should not be tested to see that it moves freely. Handle should be tested to see that it moves freely. If it does not proceed as directed in the stiff working handle on the S6 brake valve. Test the leaky rotary valve placed with the handle on lap. Note if any of the blow discerned with the end of the open application chamber pipe. Number 5, distributing valve test. When they has been said, relatively testing application position, application valve, the exhaust valve, brake cylinder, graduating spring. Number 6, distributing valve applied with the number 5, but because of the difference of the method of the piping, the two equipment is necessary to employ a little different method of testing for the leak. And number 5, after charging the sand pressure brake, a 6-pound reduction to see if the brake supply, if they do not indicate with the friction equalizing slide valve piston and the application valve of the piston, leakage equalizing piston packing ring distributing valve should be removed with a regular test or standard test rack. A filling piece of the New York ABCPCTA 753 WABPC 66464 provided with the testing, and number 5, distributing valve with a test rack employed with the testing. Number 6, distributing valve. Sharp up and make partial shift of the application, 10 pounds to the brake pipe, shift of the reduction, observe the brake cylinder gauge close to the nose. If there is gradual increase of the brake cylinder pressure above the duty with a 10-pound reduction, if there is no leakage of some sort of the application chamber, the brake pipe leakage, determine the sort of the leakage, observe the following, and the brake cylinder brake cylinder pressure increases. 45 pounds remain constant with the pressure rotary valve with the independent brake valve that is leak with the pressure increase with the 50 pounds remain with the constant with the 70 pound brake pipe pressure due either by brake pipe leakage with the equalizing slide valve with increase the point adjustment of safety valve 53 pounds causes it to blow indicate with the equally lost leak automatic rotary valve with leaking from the main port with the equalizing slide valve sheet with a possible leak for the brake pipe through double heading cock quick method to determine accurately sort of the leakage for the application so with the release the brakes and reach over the pressure chamber, the discontinued application chamber, double heading pipe with the distributing valve. At the distributing valve, note the leakage of the receptacle from the pipes for the openings made with the distributing valve. Make a light brake reduction with 6 to 8 pounds. Note that there continued blow with the opening application chamber pipe connection, but if it does not pass the leakage equalizing slide valve application position by graduating valve, if there is no blow with the application chamber by connection with the double heading pipe connection, the distributing valve equalizing valve least position indicates leakage path of the equalizing slide valve within position. After making the test in the application chamber, the double heading pipe is coupled with the test. The leakage should be done. Making full independent application safety valve should be adjusted for 53 pounds and should be tested the leakage, making a full service reduction. Then for operating correctly, making the emergency application see if it opens and relieve the brake cylinder with the excessive pressure that encloses the proper pressure. Alright, general instructions. After making so for the application, automatic brake valve handle overlap with the brake pipe is off to continue with the blow with the leak with the equalizing reservoir connection, the cool with the air gauge and leak with the inner tube of the air gauge. Do small valve volume with the brake pipe pressure, the long engine of the conveyor with the brake pipe volume, long train equalizing piston may operate properly with a tested roundhouse, but will fail to seat when the engine is coupled to a train. Consequently, due to care exercise located with the remedy, any of the leakage equalizing reservoir connections, trouble the nature of the report with the engine man. If the main reservoir pressure is partially reduced, the number of the compressor strokes increase considerably with the brakes pipe applied, indicate the very leaky condition brake cylinder, their connections. Alright, AET equipment applied with the independent brake valve. Examine the application pipe with the connections back with the brake valve, safety valve. Note that they are tight brake leaks with the independent brake valve lap position. Independent application caught with the leakage application pipe with the safety valve. Number 6, ET14EL equipment applied with the independent brake valve. To examine the distributing valve, release the application chamber pipe with their connections back with the brake valve, the application cylinder cap, safety valve. Note with the type of the distributing valve, release pipe between the independent and automatic brake valve with the effect of the maybe destroyed with the feature of the automatic brake valve releasing the train brakes. If the release of brake application, if the release pipe breaks between the distributing valve and the independent brake valve will prevent the independent application brakes remaining applied. If the brake leaks off both the automatic brake valve and the independent brake valve applications is caused by leaking application cylinder pipe into the application cylinder cap or safety valve across the application cylinder distributing valve release pipes. When these pipes are caught, the brake cylinder will apply relief the usual way unless the equalizing piston distributing valve should be removed with the release position, preventing with the brake application independent brake valve. The brake had been applied with the automatic brake valve caught by releasing the independent brake valve with the automatic brake valve lap. That's therefore applied with the brake automatic brake valve. Return handle to the lap. See if the brake can be released with the independent brake valve. Failure to release will indicate cross pipes. And this has been a reading of your inspection locomotive brake signal equipment instruction pamphlet number 5048, September 1944, New York Air Brake Company.